going live. Okay, good morning here in California. We just opened the line for our guests to slowly join in. I see the numbers are going up. We'll give it another 30 seconds or so for people to be able to join in, and then we will start our conversation. I don't want it to be awkward, but here in California, it's 10 a.m. It's 6 p.m. in Israel, and we are slowly getting our... Sorry?
It's 8 in Israel.
Oh, sorry, it's 8 p.m. in Israel. Because of all this light behind Amitz, I'm confused. Thank you, Maya, for that. We are seeing people signing into our webinar, and as I said, we'll give it a few more seconds to see everybody coming in. I also want to take this opportunity to tell our audience that if they have questions for our speakers, they can use the chat box. There is a Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. Please feel free to send us your questions, and I will also repeat that message in a moment or two. So again, good morning everyone here in California, good afternoon in Israel, and good middle of the day, I would say, in the East Coast. My name is Sharon Vanek. I'm the Executive Director of the California-Israel Chamber of Commerce, and I'm very happy to have you as our guest in this special webinar that we are holding today. With us, we have this morning, we have Megan Mahle from the DHS, coming from DC. Good morning, Megan. How are you?
Doing well, thank you.
We also have Vardi Shoshani from the BIRD Foundation. Hi, Maya.
Hi, thank you for having us.
Good to have you also. We have with us two former grantees of the BIRD Homeland Security grant. We have Amos and Jeremy. Hi guys, good to have you with us.
Thank you for having me here.
Great. So before we start, I have to tell you a few things about this morning session. This webinar is being recorded, so if you have question, if you want to take notes, if you from whatever reason cannot stay with us until the end of the session, if you have a friend that might be interested in what we are doing, all of this information that is being shared today, and of course the video recording, is going to be available on the CICC YouTube channel later on, and also on our social media. For those of you who do not know, the California-Israel Chamber of Commerce is a non-profit organization that is based in California, in Silicon Valley, with an office also in Israel. And what we do, we connect the ecosystem, the community, business community of California and the one of from Israel in a variety of industries, and one of them is, of course, Homeland Security. So I don't want to take much of our time to make this long introduction, but I do want to mention to you that there is a Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. So by all means, feel free to use that Q&A box to send us your question throughout the session. We will try to answer those questions if possible during the session, and if not, we'll leave some time at the end of the hour to answer your questions. So with no further ado, I would like to introduce our speakers, and why don't I go around, just if you can tell us who you are and what's your the organization that you represent or the company, and then we'll dive in with questions. So I'll start with you, Megan. Can you introduce yourself in a few words?
Sure. I'm Megan Mahle. I'm the Director of Industry Partnerships at the DHS Science and Technology Directorate.
Thank you, Megan. Maya?
I'm Vardi Shoshani, and I am BIRD's West Coast Director for Business Development, responsible for the West Coast and the Southwest, based in California.
Perfect, thank you. Jeremy, can you introduce yourself and the company in a few words?
My name is Jeremy Parsons. I'm the CEO of Mantaro Networks. We provide engineering product development services out of Germantown, Maryland.
Thank you, Jeremy. And Amitz, can you introduce yourself and the company in a few words?
Sure, my name is Amitz. I'm the CEO of SayVU Technologies. We're developing a next generation 911 safe city platforms. And we'll elaborate more.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all for introducing yourself. And I'm going to start with you, Megan. Why don't we talk a little bit about the relationship, the business relationship, and the overall relationship between the government of Israel and the DHS in terms of Homeland Security, of course.
Sure. So Homeland Security, the organization I work for, is our Science and Technology Directorate. So we manage the research and development projects for the entire department. And we have a government-to-government agreement with the Israeli Ministry of Public Security. So we partner in a number of different ways between both organizations focused on Homeland Security missions. One particular area that we work on is the relationship that we have with the BIRD Foundation on the Homeland Security program. So we work very closely with MOPS to determine priorities that are of interest to both organizations. And that is what results in the call for proposals every year. And so we collaborate to work with the companies, both on the US and Israeli side, to make sure that we are helping to develop technologies that will end up in the market and will benefit both Israeli and US law enforcement missions.
Thank you. So you mentioned the BIRD Foundation. So I'm going to turn to you, Maya. Can you tell us what is the BIRD Foundation and what's the purpose of the BIRD Foundation?
Sure. So BIRD, we are a binational industrial R&D fund that was established by the two governments back in the 70s. We just celebrated our 42nd year. And the governments established the fund to promote innovation and collaboration between the US and Israel. And they gave us an endowment of $110 million. And we used that endowment to fund joint R&D projects between American and Israeli companies in all sectors, and also in Homeland Security. So through our general program, and you can see now the BIRD model, we fund projects between two companies, if it's through our general call for proposals, or between a company and a research institute, or two companies in the case of the Homeland Security call for proposals. And we can fund up to 50% of the joint budget, the R&D expenses of the partners, up to $1 million per project. Of course, this funding is non-dilutive. We don't take any IP rights or equity. And we want to see that at the end of the project, the companies will be able to commercialize the product. So overall, this is what we do. We issue call for proposals a few times during the year, two call for proposals in our general call. And through the Homeland Security program, that's a program that started in 2016, we funded already, and we awarded 10 projects in 4 cycles. We issue a call for proposals every year. Maybe you can show the call, Sharon. So this is actually our general call. Here is our Homeland Security call for proposals. And we actually invite companies, partners. As I said, it can be 2 companies, or it can be a company that collaborates with a university or a research institute, but at least 1 commercial partner, 1 from the US and 1 from Israel. to jointly submit a proposal for the development of innovative technologies in the list of topics that is actually was defined by the stakeholders, by the Department of Homeland Security and the Ministry of Public Security in Israel. As you can see here, the list of topics are law enforcement, supporting technologies to combat cybercrime, technologies for secure critical infrastructure and public facilities, safe and secure cities, border protection, biometrics, screening systems, robotics, UAS, first responders technologies are very much of interest to us. So right now, this call for proposal was recently published. And I'd be happy to get into the details on the submission process and how I can help later on.
Great. So I just want to go back to the previous slides that we saw, this one, Maya, and just to make sure that people do understand, we are looking for a joint project where we have one entity, which is an Israeli one, and the other entity is a US-based entity. What type of companies do they have to be companies? Are you looking also at academia or research centers? Who can be a potential grantee?
Yeah, so a project is always between two partners. At least one of them should be a company. The other can be either a company or a university or research institute. But at least one of the partners need to have access to market because we look to commercialize the project. It can be, or what is important is actually the location of the R&D. So one partner should have his R&D in the US and the other in Israel. It can be a subsidiary of a company that is registered elsewhere, but we need the R&D in these two countries.
And Maya, so can these be two small startups or maybe one big corporate and a startup? You mentioned academia, but is there a matter of the size of the company?
We don't have any limitations on size, but since we fund only 50% of the R&D expenses, the companies or the partners need to come up with a match. So if it's a very early stage company that didn't raise any funding, it will be difficult for them to receive the award. It's also a competitive process. So you submit a proposal and there is in our general program, a board of governors that decides who will be awarded. In the Homeland Security, it's an executive committee from the DHS and the Israeli MOPS. So it is, since it's competitive, it's not a matter of size, but it is important that the partners will be able to commercialize or show that they have a plan for commercialization. I should say that the criteria that the projects are reviewed upon are the innovation of the project, that the project is solving a market need. So if the project is very innovative and challenging, even if the partners are small, it has a good chance of succeeding in a process. The goal is to promote innovation. So this is what we're looking for. We don't operate like a VC. We actually look for risky projects. Then we look at the synergy between the partners, that the partnership is beneficial for both partners on both sides. And we look for the potential for commercialization and access to market.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Maya, for this really thorough explanations on how it works and who might be a potential grantee for that grant. One more thing I'd like Maya to ask you. So the maximum condition for the grant is up to $1 million. So we are also looking at smaller projects. Is that correct?
So we fund 50% of the expenses of each partner. up to 1 million. Which means that the project will be around 2 million, sometimes more, but won't be funded by us by more than 1 million.
Mm-hmm.
We do provide smaller awards if necessary, but I would say not much smaller. And we don't have clear rules on this, so I think my suggestion on all topics, if you're not sure, is talk to us, talk to me or to my team, and we will either give you an answer, or we will check with our stakeholders and find out about eligibility. If you're not sure if the topic falls in the criteria, it is an open list. It's not a closed list, so we will find out and let you know.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Maya, so much for this explanation. I would like to go back to you, Megan. And so we heard from Maya about who might be able to submit an application and how does it work, but I guess our audience would like to know what the program is looking for. So we did see the general, a very short subject lines of the different topics that the program is looking for, but I'll be very happy if you can elaborate more about the DHS and the Science and Technology Center, and what exactly, if you can just drill down a little bit more into each one of those line items and what you're looking for.
Sure. So as I mentioned, our Science and Technology Directorate provides much of the R&D for our component agencies across DHS. So that includes everything from ICE, Secret Service, CBP. So we are working to get a number of requirements from our components. We work very closely with the components to understand what they're seeing as end users and how we can help in the research and development side. So you can see we have a number of very different high-level mission areas, and they're things that are very common across Homeland Security, cybersecurity, first responders, infrastructure resilience, chem bio. So we do a number of different things across our directorate to make sure that we're developing technologies that can be used by the Homeland Security enterprise, and that's our component customers, as well as a broader network of private industry, academia, the partners that we bring together in our research efforts. And if you could go to the next slide, we have a number of different program areas that you'll see a lot of overlap with the BIRD HLS call for proposal, because we speak to MOPS and we understand what they're looking for, and it lines up very well with things that we're looking for. We have a very good relationship in terms of understanding the different missions, and we keep the call for proposals broad to allow people to present interesting, innovative ideas. As Maya said, we're looking for the new ideas that benefit both countries and the governments. And these are our program areas that we are working on, and these program areas fall within the research and development of 12 to 24 months. So these again are very broad, and they are addressing needs of our Homeland Security end users within the next 1 to 2 years. And they line up underneath, or the Homeland Security call for proposals lines well within these topic areas. So again, it is looking at first responder capabilities, forensics and criminal investigations, border security, maritime security, all things that you've seen on the call for proposals that Maya went over. There's a lot of programs underneath these topics, but these give a good idea of where we are falling in the near-term R&D world. And the next slide is more of our longer term research. So we have a number of what we call technology centers, and these are 2 to 5 year research areas that are kind of overarching, cross-cutting things that fall, you have to have these elements in any R&D, and making sure that we're addressing the big questions now. So sensors, platform, modeling and simulation, interoperability and compatibility. So all the things that you need to get research done. We're looking a little further out at AI, blockchain, how blockchain technologies can be used for new interesting use cases. And so these are just the longer term program areas that S&T is focused on. And so those kind of show the very near term, midterm, and then we have one more bucket of research that's more of our basic research, which is our academic. We have centers of excellence across the country that focus on our academic research, and that's more of our basic research. My organization within S&T is industry partnerships. So we're responsible for a lot of the vehicles that allow the research to get done for our program managers and our end users. We are helping to make sure the research moves forward. And then we're also focused on the tech transfer and commercialization of the technologies. So that we sort of see things from the beginning all the way to the end to make sure that we're not doing research for research's sake. We really want to see it commercialized, sold back to our component customers. S&T is responsible for R&D, and we stop at a certain point. And after that, a component is responsible for picking things up operationally. But we want to make sure that we're not causing the valley of death that we know happens following an R&D effort. So we're very conscious about making sure that we are providing work with our end users to make sure that things actually make it into operational testing and getting things over that hurdle. So the next slide is just, I think you went back, yeah. So this is sort of the programs that we have to sort of enable the research to get done. BIRD is listed there. We also have targeted and long-range broad agency announcements. These are kind of our standing open solicitations for industry. Our long range is open for 5 years. We're in the second year of a 5-year solicitation. That's very large buckets. We're looking for industry to tell us how we can solve the problems. Targeted BAAs are looking more at us telling you what we're looking for, and then you responding about how it might be solved. We have 3 first responder topics open on a targeted BAA right now that's open on our website. We also have our Small Business Innovation Research Program. So DHS S&T runs it for the department. That's a very well-established program across government in the US. We have our Silicon Valley Innovation Program, which is targeting the startup community. While it was named for Silicon Valley, it's more of the mindset of what was happening in Silicon Valley, but that really is a global program. We have awardees in California, across the country, and internationally as well.
And we have 2 Israeli companies that were awarded by this program.
We do, yes. So we have prize competitions that we do, focusing on citizen innovators, not necessarily companies. We also work with Incutel, which is a known sort of government use with the VC and startup community. And then we make sure that we're providing the mechanisms to support these technologies and move them into the market. So we do cooperative R&D agreements for the entire department. We do a commercialization accelerator program, which again is trying to get things over the valley of death, previously funded by federal R&D. And then we also work with partnership intermediaries, which are organizations that can help federal labs with tech transfer and commercialization of technologies. So BIRD is one piece of the way that we work with companies. We are doing a lot of different things. There's a lot of different opportunities. You know, we're very excited about the HLS program and the work that's been going on, but there are definitely other ways to engage with us outside of BIRD as well. And we're happy to have those conversations.
Thank you, Megan, for that. And we here in the CICC are can be a channel if you need information about different programs with the DHS, or if you need information about the different call for companies. There was just last week, there was an industry day that talks about the Silicon Valley Innovation Program, and we are happy to provide more information, of course, on that. You know, we really talk high level about the opportunity and what might be there for companies, but we actually have here with us representative of 2 companies that were awarded these grants by the BIRD Foundation and this collaboration. And I think it will be very interesting for our audience to hear about Amitz and Jeremy's experience in going through the process and how it was, the application process, and actually getting the grant and working with these, you know, big organizations and with the government, you know, the US government and the Israeli one and the BIRD Foundation team also. So I would like to start with Jeremy. Jeremy, hi again.
Hi.
Glad that you are here with us. Tell us a little bit about the company, about your company, obviously, and then if you can talk about also your partner in this program.
Okay, do you have my slides or do you want me to share
I
them?
do have your slides.
Great.
So just to make sure.
We start off with the Mantaro overview.
Yes, just a second.
Sure. No problem.
If you can start just talking about it, and I'm
Sure.
going to
Yeah, so
pull them up in
Mantaro,
a second.
no problem. So Mantaro is a product development services company. We have a couple of strong areas of technology expertise. One of them is in the robotics area, and the other one is in FPGAs and high-speed Ethernet communications. So we provide both commercial off-the-shelf products in those areas, and we also do engineering services. So hardware, software, project management, design areas, as well as doing manufacturing. So we basically manufacture all the products that we develop, and then we provide manufacturing services for our customers. And so this is that slide. I guess one of the key thing on this slide is one of the robots that we've been working on, and then very recently we've announced this Intel Agilix SOM, which is the latest generation of Agilix products, or sorry, FPGA products from Intel. So on to the next slide, we'll talk a little bit more about what we did with BIRD. So basically we approached BIRD with a partner company called Beeper Communications that we had actually met before, kind of approaching BIRD. I think we went to the Philadelphia kind of session in Pennsylvania. And we talked to the folks there, made a presentation, and came up with an idea. So what Mantaro does is, what Mantaro's background is here, is we have a lot of technology in telepresence robots. And we've been working primarily in the commercial world, developing office systems, as well as customized robots for, in the case of the teletrack there, you can see the robot on the upper right, which is used in a construction environment. The customer wanted a robot that would basically allow the robot to move around a construction environment, and so it needed to have kind of a rugged platform. And so we came up with the concept of, I guess the issue that we were trying to resolve was communications is very important for telepresence robots, particularly when you get out of the office environment. You need to have very good and secure communications. And so by integrating the robot technology with the technology that Beeper brought, which is a bonded cellular radio platform into what we call now the Teletrack LE, we were essentially enabling a search and rescue platform that would have excellent communications and be able to provide surveillance within a search and rescue environment. And more recently, we've actually started working on a derivative platform from that, which is now called the Ossibot. So if you can go to the next slide. So this is the Beeper Communications is the Israeli company. They're a BIRD grant partner. And as I said, they have this product called the IE5000, what's called the IE4000, which combines multiple cellular carriers to ensure, in our purpose, a maximum robotic range while inside of a building. So it really kind of gave us the key piece of technology that we were looking for in order to solve the kind of the search and rescue solution. And if you go to the next slide, this is kind of the way that the program, started. You kind of start off in the upper left corner there with the concept. This is what we were, the goal of what we were developing. And then, we did a couple of prototypes and integrated in the technology, learned lessons. One of the kind of the key things going forward that you need to learn is you kind of need to be able to adapt your engineering as you hit challenges and adapt. The lower left is a robot that we actually sent over to Israel that actually has this is a kind of an early on prototype, which has one of the Beeper bonders attached to the back of it, and basically allowed them to do some demonstrations and to work on their side of the technology, which was making secure communications to their back end and support systems. And then from there, we actually integrated it in this technology that we would develop with BIRD and with BEPR, and we incorporated it into a couple of other platforms, which is the one in the center, which is, once again, it's a robot. And kind of the key thing about this teletrack robot is its ability to climb stairs. So, and this one has on the front, pan-tilt zoom camera. In the middle, it's got the electronics with the bonded radios. And then on the lower right, once again, took the technology that was developed, and we developed another version of a construction robot that had the the BEPR communication system in, because once again, in construction, they're in an inside environment and they need good communications. And so basically we're able to port this technology that we developed through this BIRD program to these various different platforms. And it definitely has helped our business moving forward. So that's kind of a quick summary on our process with BIRD.
Thank you so much, Jeremy, about sharing this information with us. And now I would like to turn to Amitz. Why don't you tell us about what your company is doing and the process you've been through working with the BIRD Foundation?
So just open the slide.
You just go to a presentation mode. We can see your screen. Yes.
So thank you for having me again. I'll start with the process because it was years ago. It was 2016 when we won this grant. So we start with exploring the capability gaps. There were 21 of those. It was hard, but we chose 4. And I'll show in a minute what exactly we've developed. We joined with Opto-Knowledge, US-based from California, US-based company, doing mostly data out of light, different spectrum, different data. And we'll shortly explain how it helped us to make breakthroughs in the areas of indoor positioning. So that was the process. We're now in the phase of entering the market. We finished with the technology challenge. Now we're heading to the marketing and market penetration challenge, which is not smaller than the technology one. So what are we doing? First of all, we're enabling first responders to locate them in an indoor environment, in a GPS denied environment. We're doing so with the camera and also with the RF or Wi-Fi fingerprint from the mobile device. So adding those 2 capabilities with what we call sensor-based situational awareness, we try to understand where is the first responders, outdoor and indoor. We try to understand what is happening with them, meaning if you fail, if we have a man-down situation, if he had a car accident on his way to the scene. So we need to understand, for those who rush into fire or any other danger, we need to understand what is happening with them in terms of communication, physical situation, location, and more. So now it's the phase of building the solution, meaning taking the capabilities and forming them into product. So if we have indoor geolocating or indoor positioning, so we're doing a product for our customers. So we start with customers that are having the difficulties of GPS denied environment. Imagine tunnels where you can't, where GPS is unavailable, or concrete based structures when there's no signal. And so we make a solution, whether it's with smartphone and smartwatches or any other device that can read Wi-Fi or RF signature, or can analyze its data that it was receiving from a camera, a LiDAR, sorry, or any other device that allows to know where it is. It can also help us building we already built it for making a safe city solution, such as if you want to locate an active shooter, so we can do it even indoorly and not just outside satellite where we have GPS signal. So we build the whole platform. We build the C4I. Everything can integrate into it: panic buttons, smartwatches, drones, CCTVs, thermal camera, smartphone application, web application, everything, anything you can imagine can integrate into that system. And of course, this system integrate with GIS layers, core systems. These are the components of a typical or usual safe city, safe organization platform. So we already built that. We're using the power of sensor on mobile devices to understand what is happening with our first responders, and of course potential victims. Very modular. We can use one part of the system or another, integrate it seamlessly. But, our main objective in this project, in the BIRD project, was to empower first responders. If we are making better dispatching, we're doing it. If we understand better what is happening with our first responders, done. Find them in the indoor environment, done. Now, the final phase of actually penetrating the market is doing so with what we call last mile development. Meaning that if we're doing a development for the Coast Guard, it might be different from the highway police. If we are, let's say, connecting with this chest cam, or we are doing it on a camera based inside a naval vessel. So it's different last mile solution for the same capabilities, for the same technology. And that's in short.
Thank you so much, Amitz, about your presentation, and thank you for explaining what your company is doing. I want to go back to you, Jeremy, and actually that's also one of the questions that we have from the audience. You're an American company, and there are so many other US-based companies, and you decided to work with an Israeli company. Can you talk a little bit about how did you find that Israeli partner, and how was it to work with the BIRD Foundation?
So we kind of did it, I guess, more the traditional way. As part of another project that we had, we ran across this Israeli company, and we had already essentially started having a business relationship with them to help them market and sell their cellular bonder in the US. And so we saw the opportunity to combine technology that we had with the technology that they have, and approach the BIRD Foundation to see if we couldn't get some funding in order to do that. And the process went extremely well. We were welcomed, by the BIRD Foundation, and they showed us exactly the process and helped us along through the steps that we would need to do in order to qualify. And so I think it was I was very surprised, to be honest with you, because I had never done anything like that before. And I was very surprised that that program was even in place. So it was extremely helpful.
Great. So we know that Jeremy found the Israeli partner beforehand and then approached the BIRD Foundation. But Maya, I'm sure half of the people in the audience are curious to know, can you help either the American side to find an Israeli partner, or the other way around, to find Israeli companies, a US-based partner?
Yeah, so I think that the majority of our work is actually to facilitate introductions, and business development is a big part of it. So we help introduce companies to each other and help them find the right partner. So we are like matchmakers. And it's not an easy job to do. We try to understand what kind of complementary technologies the company that we're talking to can benefit from. And then we look for a potential partner, either in Israel or in the US. So we're not a big team, we are a small team. I'm responsible for the West Coast. We have a representative in the East Coast, Andrea Yona, who is in New Jersey, in Princeton. And we have a team in Tel Aviv. We all work together to help locate the right partner for the companies or the universities that we talk to. It's always helpful if we get a wish list of either the technologies that they're looking for, and we find companies that we think that might be relevant. We send links, and if there is interest on both sides, we make introductions. And then later, if these matches turn into projects and they apply to us, we guide them through the process, and then we can fund 50% of those projects of the R&D expenses. I should also say, as I saw it as in one of the questions, that the matching fund coming from the partners cannot be another source, another federal grant or the Israeli Innovation Authority grant. If there is a possibility of showing that the other grant came for another project, that might be eligible, but talk to us. We need to understand the details, exactly what the project is, what did you get, if you got another grant, what did you get it for? So my main goal actually today is invite companies or whoever is interested in learning more, either finding a partner in the US or in Israel and working with BIRD with a HLS program or through our general program to reach out to us. We can help you find partners, and we can guide you through our process. On our website, you can find templates of the submission forms, and maybe I should say a few words on the submission. The deadline for the call for proposals, the first deadline is always the submission of an executive summary. That is a short, non-binding document that is submitted based on our template by the two partners. So first step is finding the partner, then submitting the executive summary. We always recommend sharing with us a draft because we can provide feedback. And then after we receive all the executive summaries, we try to bring the success rate in the full proposal stage, that is usually about a month later, to about 40 to 50%. So we want to have a high success rate, and we want our partners or the participants to have good chances of winning the grant. So if we gave a go recommendation after we received the executive summary, it means that you have about 50% chances of winning the full award. The full proposal is submitted also based on our template. You can find that on the website under procedures and forms. And that is submitted by the two partners, comprehensive business plan with financial and technical details. Then there is a review process that is done by reviewers from both governments. In the Homeland Security program, of course, the DHS and the Israeli Ministry of Public Security are reviewing the proposals based on the criteria that I mentioned, the innovation, the synergy, the potential for commercialization, and they will decide in December who to award. In the general program, the Board of Governors that has people from both governments, from NIST, from the Israeli Innovation Authority, the chief scientist, will decide who to award. And I should say that in the general program, we are agnostic to sectors. So any innovative technology besides defense can apply. So non-pure military applications, but also Homeland Securities, if they don't manage to submit by the deadline of this call, can apply to our general call, which is in September.
Yes, and for those who were asking for contact information, if you look at the screen, you have, first of all, Maya's email. Feel free to reach out directly to Maya with any questions that you have. And of course, if you're looking for an opportunity to meet a potential partner, if you have questions about the submission process, the executive summary, if you look also at the bottom of the page, you'll see the BIRD Foundation website. All the information is available on their website. And also I would like to remind you that this session is being recorded, so you can always go back to the CICC YouTube channel and look again at the recording and find all the information and the slides that were shared with you previously. Amitz, I would like to go back to you and ask you some questions about your experience as an Israeli startup coming into the US and working with a US partner, potentially selling to the US market, the first responders in the US market. Can you share some information about this experience, and was the grant from the BIRD Foundation a catalyst to your activities in the US?
First of all, we ended the project maybe 2 or 3 months ago, meaning that coronavirus put us through another schedule that we didn't expect it. But working with the US partner is mostly challenging because starting with the time zone differences. So if your development team here in Israel works from, let's say, 9 to 6, and the other team is waking up 4 p.m. our time. So it's a challenge, but it's something that we can bridge. It's not that bad. I think that it helped us, first of all, understand the US culture better than we used to understand before working with the US entity, with the US partner. So that's very important. We learned that for the US, when arriving to the US, it's not like you're taking the ticket and flying to the US and say, hey, here's my solution, you should all adopt it. It's not the way, it's not how it works. You have to prepare yourself. You have to understand the mindset. You have to be extremely prepared for regulations, for let's say, for example, in California, so you have the CCPA, for example, the you have to be prepared, or the SOC 2 or any other regulation that you have to maintain. And you have to understand how you are doing business in the US. So it's not like you're arriving, you have to explore the market, understand it deeply, understand the need. It's not like, sure, you need it. I'll give one example. DHS S&T has an industry guide, and anyone that wishes to do business with the DHS and its customer need to read that industry guide. It's online. They tell you what they need. So when coaching, first of all, go with this intelligence that shows that you know the need, and hopefully you have the right solution. And you have to persuade those entities that you have the right solution. So I guess it was accelerating our go-to-market to US market. Hopefully after COVID-19, let's say September, October, we engage with the potential customer that we start engaging before the COVID-19. And we're looking forward to save lives and to empower first responders right after.
Perfect. Thank you, Amitz, for that. Megan, there is a question in our Q&A box regarding brain technologies. Is this something that the center has interest in, or are we looking only at software, hardware type of technologies?
It's not currently a a high priority need for us. I'm certainly willing to have additional conversations about it. We're very driven by the requirements that are coming from our component customers, and that's what drives our interest in the call for proposal for BIRD and our other documented areas of interest. But certainly willing to have more conversation about that. It's just not a high priority for us right now.
Okay, so if someone has a technology or something that they're working in that area, what will be the best way to communicate with either with yourself or with somebody within your team?
So if it is definitely still an R&D effort, so it would be reaching out to my group. I think we can share contact information at the end. We have an innovation inbox that we run to get information from companies. If it's an R&D effort, that's something that S&T would want to hear about, and potentially we could put you in the right direction. If it's something where this is already commercially available and you're looking to have procurement by a DHS end user, we have relationships with our component customers who we can put you in contact with. This innovation, S&T innovation inbox mailing address in the middle of the screen is the one to reach out to. We can connect you to the right people. We can't procure anything. We don't do any procurements. We just do R&D funding, but we certainly have the connections that we can help with that.
Great, thank you so much. So just once again, if you're looking for an email address to communicate with the DHS office regarding all the questions that you have, you can see it now in the middle of our screen. So we talked about R&D, and maybe Maya, you can answer this question regarding the stage of R&D. In what stage of R&D companies should come and apply for the BIRD Foundation, for a grant with the BIRD Foundation?
So I would say that since usually a project takes about 2 years, between 1 year to 3 years. So at the end of the project, the companies need to be ready to go to market. So if that is reasonable, then they can talk to us. It is difficult to answer without understanding the specifics. Mm-hmm. So talk to us, reach out to us, even if it's early stage, we can help you either find a partner or guide you through the process. If not for this coming call for proposals, for the next one, we will have one next year. So sometimes it takes a few years until the projects are ready. And we think that they have good chances of being awarded. And if we think that it's too early, we will let you know. We won't waste your time. So talk to us.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Maya, for this answer. And there is another question in our Q&A box, Megan, which is for you. And I think you did answer that earlier, but if you can tell our audience once again, where can they find the DHS mission requirements? Where are they defined? Are they on your website?
They are, and Amitz gave a great plug for our industry guide. So if you go to our S&T website, we have an industry guide as well as a tools and technologies guide that explains the requirements of each of our open solicitations. So if you're an academic, you are eligible for XYZ. If you are a startup in the US, then you're eligible for this. So we have a list of our high-level areas of interest. We have a list that explains what vehicles people are eligible for. And we also have links to open solicitations. So that's where you can find information about our long-range broad agency announcement, as well as our open topics that we have for our Silicon Valley Innovation Program right now. We have a topic open that is open for another week, 10 days, and on blockchain. So there's a lot of information about business opportunities, high-level topics, and ways to connect with us.
Great. Thank you for that. And Jeremy, we're getting close to the end of the hour, but I really like to hear from you. If you have any advice to the people in the audience, what will be the best practice from your experience working with an Israeli partner for a long time, but also working with the DHS and the BIRD Foundation.
Okay, I guess I'd like to reiterate what Amitz said about time. I mean, time zones, and I think even on the East Coast, they were quite a challenge in working with Israel. So it's not just time of day, there's also a day of the week offset that you have to get accustomed to. So you end up kind of having, Monday through Thursday as the kind of the core days. You kind of have to work around that. The other thing is, we all have great goals when we enter the program, and you may not be able to get all the way to the end based on your funding and the BIRD funding. So you kind of need to set up some goals that if you can achieve them, you still have a win. And I think that's very important to have that in your mind as you go through that. I'm sure Amitz hasn't run into that, but that certainly was something that we ran into. We had our goals kind of outstretched where we could actually achieve. I think those were kind of the key things that we would address.
Thank you so much for that, Jeremy. And Amitz, I would like to ask you exactly the same question. You finished now the R&D process with your American partner as part of the BIRD Foundation. You've been in this for a few years, right, already. What will be your advice to Israeli companies that are listening to us right now?
Well, first of all, that would be to find the right match, the right partner. The right partner that can empower you, can empower your solution. You need the combined solution would be something that the world hasn't seen yet, something that would make the difference. That's one. Second, have patience. These long R&D processes do take time, and they're challenging, and you can experience some failures on the way. But if it's meant to be, you'll be successful. So have patience, and I know that these processes will take time. That's it. Yeah.
Right, and really just to also elaborate on what Amitz and Jeremy just mentioned is really the collaboration, the really hands-on assistance that all of you can get from the BIRD Foundation team, either in Israel or here in the US, throughout the entire process, really trying to help you find a partner, explain to you the process of submitting your proposal, and even all the things that relates to that. What are you going to do with the IP? Where are you going to register? How much money you need to bring? What kind of money you should maybe bring, as a match to the BIRD Foundation? How to work with the DHS? What are the deadlines? They can review your application before you actually send, hit the send button, and help you, making sure that everything that you put is in place with the guide. Really do not hesitate and reach out to Maya and her partners, the rest of the team with the BIRD Foundation, and this is what they are here for. Megan, last few words from your end about the importance of this program for the relationship between Israel and the US?
We are very interested and excited to see the partnerships that grow and develop out of the BIRD Foundation grants. I think it's very interesting for us not to see the same typical performers all the time. This stretches people, as I think you've heard, and it's a little bit harder to get things done, but it's really interesting work. And so we like the innovation, and we like to help see how that work can influence positively our end users.
Thank you. Maya, last few words and advice?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you, Sharon, for giving us this opportunity to talk to your audience. Really talk to us, reach out to us, send us emails. We will try to help you find a partner. It's important that you mentioned that we don't get involved in the business decisions between the companies, who keeps the IP, what you do with it. We leave it all up to you. We just want to help you. and help the partnership. So reach out to us and I'd be happy to talk.
Fantastic.
And
Thank you so much.
to our awardees. Thank you, Amitz and Jeremy.
Our pleasure. Thank you for being such a wonderful team, Maya.
That's very heartwarming to hear from Jeremy and for Amitz about their positive experience, not just by the fact that they received the grant, but also how the team could help them throughout the process, and hopefully also will follow on with those two companies and all the other companies also, you know, after the program, that specific program ends, and to follow up and see what and where the companies are moving and how they've moved forward with their activities. And of course, thank you, Megan, for being here. And you mentioned earlier, the BIRD Foundation is only one aspect for, you know, part of so many different activities and call for companies that your department is in charge of. And there is more information, there are more opportunities to work with the DHS, and it's all on the website. And for our audience, if you follow the CICC on our social media, our LinkedIn, our Facebook, you will see, first of all, a summary of this discussion, some key takeaways from today, and also links to the information and where exactly you can find the information on the BIRD Foundation website, and where you can find the information on the DHS website for all the programs and the ways to do business with them. I'm sure that we can talk more and more, and there are more questions from the audience. Unfortunately, we cannot answer all of them today, but your contact information was previously on the screen, and I invite everybody to go back to the recording, and if you have questions, just reach out to either me, Megan, or Maya with your specific questions. So really, I want to thank all of you for being here today, our fabulous audience. Thank you so much for being with us and sending us your questions. Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you, Amitz, for spending time with us. And of course, thank you, Megan, for explaining about your department and your interest. And of course, Maya, for bringing the BIRD Foundation opportunities for Homeland Security and for other areas of industries. So I want to wish all of you a wonderful rest of the day, and thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.